The clock in the corner of the old library ticked softly in the silence, each movement of the hands adding to the oppressive atmosphere. Allison sat at the small round table beneath a dusty chandelier. She was flipping through ancient volumes for her thesis research, but the air felt thick with an unexplainable tension. Sheltered within the walls of the Alderwood Estate, the library seemed to exist in a time just slightly out of sync with reality. She had come to Alderwood with the understanding that it was an imperative part of her research project on Victorian-era mysteries. The Manor, with its sprawling acres of dense woodland and its isolated position far from the town, was perfect. Its storied past was shrouded in both history and whispers of unsolved disappearances. The arrangement had been made with Edmund Graves, the current patriarch and keeper of the estate. A hunched man with eyes too alert for his frail body, he welcomed Allison with an uneasy politeness. He had granted her access to every part of the estate, save for the east wing, which was under repair, he'd said, though the way he avoided meeting her eyes when he spoke gave his words the quality of being carefully selected. Days passed uneventfully. Allison made diligent notes, feeling productive, yet there was a growing discomfort she couldn't shake. Despite the quiet, there was a tangible tension in the air, a feeling that someone was constantly observing her. On the fifth night, as the wind battered the window panes and drew eerie howls from the forest shadows, Allison found herself drawn to the library once more. She was captivated by a journal she discovered lodged between two larger volumes. The leather binding was cracked, its pages yellowed and fragile. The diary belonged to Amelia Graves, a long-deceased member of the family. Her entries began normally, recounting days filled with mundane duties and tales of local gossip. But as Allison read deeper into the night, the tone of Amelia's musings grew darker, steeped in fear and paranoia. "They are always watching me," an entry in jagged script noted. "Even when I am alone, their eyes follow. The whispers are louder in the east wing." Allison felt a shiver as she read. A chill that began at the small of her back crept up her spine. The east wing, the area Edmund had forbidden her to explore. She set the journal aside, pushing aside creeping unease, and settled deeper into the research, trying to convince herself that her nerves were simply playing tricks on her. But shadows seemed to lengthen and slither along the walls of the library, and each creak of the manor felt less like the benign aging of wood and more like stealthy footsteps. The evening felt alive with suspense, and it wasn't long before she could no longer resist the pull of Amelia's entries. Why had no one else mentioned these things? Had Edmund read this? Did he know? A particularly strong gust of wind rattled the windows just as Allison replayed the thought, and for a fraction of a second, she imagined she heard someone saying her name softly, like a message carried by the air. It was a name, but in her bones she knew the voice was not of this time or place. No longer able to dismiss her curiosity, Allison decided she had to investigate the east wing. She needed to see for herself what lay beyond those bolted doors and silenced halls. With cautious footsteps, she navigated the corridors of the manor. Her flashlight, its beam cutting through the darkness, began to flicker like candlelight, but it was enough to guide her down the narrow corridor toward the forbidden wing. She pushed her unease into the deepest recesses of her mind as she approached the barred double doors that marked the beginning of the east wing. To her surprise, the chains that should have sealed them appeared loose, only half-heartedly looped, as though someone wanted them to seem secure but had no intention of truly keeping people out. The doors creak, de-open, revealing a hallway seeped in darkness and an unsettling chill. The air smelled of time and decay, with hints of old fires and forgotten things. Her feet pressed into dust-coated floors, leaving the first impressions in years. Allison entered, senses heightened, her heart hammering a rhythm of caution. She moved quietly, feeling the palpable heaviness that suggested the past was watching, disapproving of her intrusion. With each step into the shadowy depths, the whispers grew. What were initially faint echoes from the hollow of the manor began to take shape into murmured words, unintelligible but insistent. The sensation of a presence walking just beyond her vision became undeniable, though when she turned, nothing was there, nothing visible. As she wandered further in, forgotten rooms branched off left and right, doors half open, leading into spaces that swallowed the light, but none called to her like the corridor itself. It drew her further, deeper into the secrets that the wing contained. Then she saw it. A room at the end, door slightly ajar, light spilling through in odd patterns onto the cold, stony floor. Her breath caught, not willing to imagine what might be waiting, yet she was powerless to stop her advance. Inside, the room was surprisingly barren, save for a grand mirror, its frame twisting with carvings of eyes. It was grand yet ominous, its glass surface strangely untouched by the dust or decay around it. Allison approached cautiously, as if expecting the reflection to betray her thoughts. But what she saw reflected was not herself, not entirely. Standing behind her was a figure. Feminine, translucent, with eyes that mirrored the relentless terror of the journal's author. Amelia. The ghostly shape in the mirror extended a hand not to harm, but to gesture, a plea urging Allison to understand, to listen to the silence between the walls. Heart-pounding, Allison was suddenly overpowered by a vision, a memory not her own, of the manor bustling with silent activity, impossibly quiet servants, voiceless guests, all eyes subtly turned toward Amelia. The sensation of conspiracy was thick, a life under scrutiny, coerced by forces beyond the living. The vision faded, leaving Allison trembling, her breath a fog against the chill of the mirror's glass. The connection was real. Amelia had been trapped, tormented by the ghosts of secrets deep within these halls. The same secrets now clawed at Allison, seeking acknowledgement. Before she could fully comprehend the weight of what she'd seen, the doors at the corridor's entrance snapped shut with a finality that shook the walls. Panic surged through her. She was trapped, gripped by the remnants of a terror years dead. And yet, in that frozen moment of fear, the shadows began to unravel. From the edges of the dark came indistinct figures, shapes that resembled those in her vision, all gathering to face her, neither aggressive nor inviting, but expectant. It hit her like cold water. The manor, all its tales, delights, and deceits, it was alive, sentient. Each whisper, each shadow was a fragment of its memory, needing to be heard, shared, as the spirits of Alderwood could not rest. Allison exhaled shakily, understanding the weight of an unfulfilled promise. No longer a researcher of mystery, but its keeper, she felt the pull of purpose. To divulge what she had seen, ensure such voices faded into a silence that was peaceful, not imposed. The figures watched as she backed away, the eerie calm about them offering reassurance. As she stepped back into the hallway, the figures dispersed like smoke in a breeze, leaving behind only Amelia, her reflection softening, grateful. Gently, as if controlled by unseen hands, the entrance doors swung open, releasing Allison back into the manor proper, past its shadows, where the regular world awaited. As Allison emerged into the dawning light, she found herself standing face to face with Edmund. His expression was drawn, and she understood instantly that he, too, was a keeper of these secrets, curator of the unending watch within Alderwood's walls. His eyes met hers with the silent plea of a shared burden. Without a word, they turned back to the grounds beyond, sparing the manor one last look. The estate loomed behind them, silent once more, but no longer threatening, shadows held in check by the promises they'd made to be its voice. Here in the waking world, away from the mists of the past, Allison knew her work was far from over. But for the first time, the daunting reality of an unquiet history seemed less formidable. And as the morning sun broke over the horizon, casting its light on Alderwood's facade, Allison felt anchored by an understanding that while the whispers of the past often speak in haunting tones, only by giving them voice can we hope to find peace.